Have you ever noticed how even small discomforts, like starting a workout, tackling a tough task, or having an awkward conversation, can feel huge in the moment? This is because our brains are wired to treat pain, effort, and stress as urgent threats. As a result, we tend to magnify these short-term challenges, making them seem much bigger than they actually are. The immediate discomfort overshadows any future benefits, so we often avoid actions that would help us in the long run. It's not that the discomfort is truly unbearable. It's that our minds exaggerate its impact, making small hurdles feel like major obstacles. Understanding this can help us see discomfort for what it really is, temporary and often less significant than it appears. Brains are naturally designed to prioritize the present moment. When we experience sensations like fear, fatigue, or embarrassment, emotional centers in the brain light up and demand our attention. This makes present discomfort feel incredibly real and intense, while the idea of long-term change seems distant and abstract. Because of this imbalance, we're more likely to choose comfort now rather than improvement later. The future feels vague, but the discomfort we feel right now is vivid and hard to ignore. Recognizing this tendency can help us understand why it's so easy to put off actions that would benefit us in the long run. Long-term change is a slow process, which makes it hard for our brains to notice. Day by day, progress can feel invisible, leading us to believe that nothing is really happening. But in reality, real change builds quietly over time. Habits form, skills improve, and confidence grows, often without us realizing it until we look back. The brain expects dramatic results, but most growth is subtle and accumulates gradually. This is why we often underestimate the power of small, consistent actions and overlook the quiet progress we're making. Humans are not very good at predicting how they'll feel in the future, a phenomenon known as affective forecasting. We tend to overestimate how painful discomfort will be and underestimate how rewarding growth can feel. Often, once we start taking action, the discomfort fades much faster than we expected, while the satisfaction of progress lasts longer. These inaccurate predictions can lead us to avoid challenges unnecessarily, missing out on opportunities for growth and improvement. By understanding this bias, we can make better decisions and face discomfort with more confidence. Avoiding discomfort gives us immediate relief, which feels good in the short term and reinforces the habit of avoidance. Over time, though, this pattern leads to missed opportunities, stagnation, and sometimes regret. The long-term costs of avoidance are less visible, but often much more damaging than the discomfort we were trying to escape. By recognizing that avoidance is a short-term fix with long-term consequences, we can start to make choices that support our growth and well-being. Good news is that long-term change doesn't require extreme effort. What really matters is consistency. Small actions, repeated over time, create results that are much bigger than the effort involved. Our brains struggle to visualize how these small steps add up, so we often underestimate their impact. But with patience and persistence, even the tiniest efforts can lead to significant growth. This is the power of compounding, small, steady progress that builds into something meaningful. Fear has a powerful effect on how we perceive discomfort. It amplifies uncertainty and risk, creating stories in our minds about failure or embarrassment that may never actually happen. When fear takes over, the brain prioritizes safety over growth, making discomfort feel more dangerous than it really is. By recognizing how fear distorts our perception, we can start to challenge these stories and make choices that support our long-term goals. Discomfort is not a permanent state. It's simply information that something is new or challenging. When we reframe discomfort as a normal part of growth, it becomes much easier to tolerate. We no longer have to wait for motivation to appear before taking action. Instead, we can accept discomfort as a sign of progress and move forward, knowing it will pass. This shift in perspective reduces resistance and makes it easier to keep going. Long-term change becomes much more manageable when we make it concrete. By breaking big goals into small, actionable steps and tracking our progress, we help our brains recognize growth. Visualizing future benefits and building routines can reduce the psychological distance to our goals, making it easier to follow through. Structure and consistency are key to turning distant dreams into real achievements. In summary, humans tend to overestimate short-term discomfort because our brains are built to protect us from immediate threats. At the same time, we underestimate long-term change because it happens slowly and quietly. By understanding these biases, we can see why growth feels difficult and progress often seems invisible. Remember, discomfort is usually brief, while the impact of change can be far greater than we expect. With awareness and a willingness to face discomfort, real growth becomes possible.